I mean, I don't know if I can afford, to wait another season of losing. I really can't see that picture right now. As far as other teams that's out there and which quote-unquote team would be the best situation, you never know. I mean, sometimes the grass is not always green on the other side. So this is stuff that I'm gonna have to sit down, with myself and my family, and really figure this thing out. This is not a decision that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time.
All right, as he mentioned, he hasn't made a decision just yet. Future is still in gray area for him. Deadline to opt out of his deal with the Knicks is June 30th. Stephen A. Smith, what do you make of Carmelo's latest comment?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to say a couple of things. First things first. Carmelo Anthony, second leading scorer in the game, averaging 27.4 points per game, shooting 45% from the field. Shot more than he ever did before, no doubt about that, but was more effective. I can't say enough about how much our respect should elevate for Carmelo Anthony. Because to witness the debacle that was the New York Knicks this year, how atrociously pathetic they were on too many occasions. I can't say enough about him. Night in, night out, he came out there carrying the Knicks, leading them in scoring 99.9% of the time, doing everything that he could, literally carrying this team on his back. You look at Glenn Grunwald being let go. You look at the assistant coaching contracts not being renewed. You look at J.R. Smith starting off the season suspended. You look at Tyson Chandler not having the year he was supposed to have and missing the games that he missed. You look at Raymond Felton, his personal issues and how that was a distraction for this team. It was just a pathetic situation. And Melo, to me, earned more respect in missing the first postseason of his career than the respect he's garnered all of these years while making the postseason and just simply being a scorer. I can't say enough for him. With that being said, what Melo has to understand is that with his words, he could talk about how he's going to think all he wants to, and that's true. And he's got his lovely wife, Walala, who is business savvy. She's not just beautiful, but she's just great, and she's very, very smart. That Carmelo Anthony that you're looking at is not the same Carmelo Anthony that existed back in 2006, 2007, when you ultimately signed a deal for 5 years as opposed to the 3 years and out like LeBron, D. Wade, and Bosh was smart enough to do. Carmelo's going to be significantly more savvy this time around. But what he has to understand is that it comes down to this. If you are about winning, you leave. If you are about the money, you stay. It's that simple. Because the New York Knicks are not in a position for next year to win basketball games. The talent that they have is going to be pretty similar to the talent that they have right now. And so as a result of it, if you're coming off a 37-45 season, all right, with the parts that you have, I don't expect much from the New York Knicks next year. Maybe they win a few more games. Maybe they might make it into the postseason. But I don't see them in a position with this roster to compete for a championship. There's no way in hell they will be. So as a result of that, you're asking Carmelo Anthony now to either opt in and stay an additional year and become a part of the 2015 free agent class, or to opt out then re-up for a long-term deal with the New York Knicks. So somewhere along the line, you're risking something. You're either risking getting yourself injured and passing up on the money, or you risk taking the money and consigning yourself to a losing proposition. So it's either that or go elsewhere where they're in a position to give you significantly less money in Chicago or making out a trade with Houston or Cleveland.
Okay, so back to the question. What did you make of what he said?
I made of what he said that it's a tough call for him because he has to make a decision between the money and winning. When he says he has something to think about, he's telling you, look, I can't deal with this situation again, so it's going to be hard for me to stay here because I don't see myself winning. But if I leave, I'm passing up on a whole lot of money. And I've got that to think about.
Okay.
That's what I made of it. He's either going to stay for the money or he's going to leave to win.
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you what I made of that one line about the whole idea of I really can't see going through another season of losing.
Right.
That's the first time I thought he is gone. That's what I thought. Well, you have said all along he is gone. You've repeatedly said that.
I've been told.
Okay?
I tell you, that was before Phil arrived, but even
That's
after
right.
Phil arrived,
Well, I have said ever since Phil arrived, you got to stay. To me, you got to stay for two reasons. The money and the winning, but you're going to have to give up next year. You're just going to have to sacrifice it. You're going to have to live through another sorry New York Knicks season, which I don't know if he's capable psychologically, emotionally of just, because remember, he's still fresh from the debacle that was this season when they had pretty high hopes, and it was just a crash and burn season right from the start. I don't know if it's the coach's fault. I don't know if it's I don't know, but it was pathetic to watch. Even though I'm with you, he played his tail off. Maybe he tried too hard. Maybe he shot too much. But whatever, it was a mess, and it was hard for you to watch. And at some point a month ago, you just said, I can't watch it.
I boycotted it.
Okay? So I'm saying you might have to endure that again. But you have the great Phil Jackson overseeing. I don't know. Maybe Phil will opt to come down from above and coach at some point. Maybe it won't be next year, but maybe it'll be the following year. I don't know. But if I'm Carmelo, I'm going to see it through. I can make more money seeing it through. And 2 years from now, I believe the Knicks will win. And I think they'll start winning big. I think they will be a contender in 2 and then 3 years. But you would have to ride out next year. You just have to give that to Phil. And I don't know if Carmelo is capable at this stage of his career and life of doing that.
Can we have real talk here, Skip?
Yes.
We always do, but when it comes to Phil Jackson, look, he's an 11-time champion. I have profound respect for this man. He speaks, I listen. The man knows the game of basketball. But in order to build a franchise, you have to have several components working for you. Your ability to recruit. Phil has never had to do that. You inherited Jordan and Pippen. You inherited Shaq and Kobe. You inherited Kobe with Pau Gasol and those guys. You know, well, actually he didn't because he came back with Kobe, but it was after he was there that Mitch Kupchak pulled off the trade, getting Pau Gasol for Kwame Brown, okay? But we understand that. Now you're in a position where you have to go out there and facilitate getting stars to want to come play, all right? You have to convince them that the environment is as dysfunctional as we all know it to be, okay? Because we know James Dolan's reputation precede him. I had somebody describe him. They call him in the cable television business because you know he owns cable. They call him the North Korea of cable, okay? You know, he's dictating. They say he's like a spoiled kid with all the toys that don't want to share. That's James Dolan. That's what they talk about. This is how they talk about him. So if you know that, in the world of business, that's going to affect an athlete's willingness to come and play with you and for you. So first, you got to convince Melo to stay. And then after that, even if you got money for the 2015 free agent class, Skip, who you going to get? Are you sure you're going to be able to get some of the guys that's needed? These are questions. So it's not just about next year. You're not just asking Melo to wait through next year. You're asking him to be convinced that you know what you're doing and you're going to be able to pull it off in the years to come. That is a guessing game with this man's future where all he'll have to show for it is money, whereas if he takes just a little bit less, there are a couple of places he could end up that are established as it pertains to being contenders for a championship. That's a better sell to me right now than New York. I hope he stays, but I wouldn't blame him one bit if he left.
Decided to leave.
Phil Jackson is now selling 11 championships, New York City, Madison Square Garden. That's pretty powerful to me.
Yeah, but you don't know how powerful in the opposite direction James Dolan's reputation is. And by the way, from what my sources tell me, they're having problems already because you know how you got the medical staff and they talk about how you gain restrictions and all of this stuff. Phil don't want those people as a part of the equation when it comes to him making basketball decisions. From what I've been told, Dolan looked him in the face and said, quote, "They're untouchable. Wow. You don't get to do anything with them." So he's already usurping the authority of Phil Jackson. It's a problem. It's a problem, man.
You're trying to talk Melo out of town.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Talking down your
Let me
Knicks.
ask you a question.
You're killing them.
Let me ask you a question. You know this, seriously. You look in this camera. I need you here. I need you to be serious. Am I not a Knicks fan? Does it not break my heart when they sit there and stick up the joint the way that they do? What are you talking about?
You know, you're too much of a Knicks fan.
Okay, that's fine, but don't say I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm too much of one.
Yes.
And my point is your team wins.
It's been so long since your team won.
Thank you.
You finally just said, I can't watch them anymore. So now you're just completely down on the whole show.
I am down on the whole show. It's easy for you to say Mr. 50-plus wins every year for the last 16 years. You haven't sat there and suffered the way we've suffered.
You guys lead the NBA by how many games?
Three.
Road?
5 on the road.
Oh, 5 on the road.
What have you suffered?
Yeah, those old, slow, boring,
Boring?
unathletic San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, they're kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Coming up.